for tomorrow.
Breaking news. It's starting to look like our disgraced piece of, I don't know, I guess camel shit, since he's so closely aligned with the Somalis, Tim Walz, the one who pretended he was going to be an amazing vice president. He won Beta Male of the Year 3 times in a row, and the anti-Semite 3 years running. He literally grovels to every agenda known to man. He's also gay, and he's teetering on becoming trans. Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota appears that he will be stepping down tomorrow. Now, some of you might see him dropping out of the race. I see him as making a run for it. The problem is, nowhere in this hemisphere will be able to offer safe haven to the enemies of the United States of America. Is Tim Walz, the governor, the disgraced governor from Minnesota, an enemy of the United States? He absolutely is. This took more than just a blind eye. This is from the very top down, distinct, explicit orders to literally ignore not just fraud, but also money laundering, to remove any auditing or any kind of even safety measures. For example, from the governor's office, people from Somalia were given permission to fly out of the country with millions of dollars in cash from the Minnesota St. Paul airport to Bahrain, Dubai, Mogadishu, whatever they're, Mogadishu in Somalia. These people who are not Americans in the United States, if you're caught with more than $5,000 cash and you're traveling, it's confiscated. The police will write you a ticket, and you will literally have to argue with them, so sometimes more than a year, just to be able to prove that the money was legit and you can get it back. But yet these people, these foreigners, are allowed to sign one form. And the TSA, there's whistleblowers from the airport, TSA. This has all been verified. This is not conjecture or just me, sensationalizing it. And they've seen these people, and they've actually done the count. Hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. And you don't know the source. Where do they even get that much cash from? Banks don't have that much cash on standby. Is it coming from a mint? Where are they getting all this cash? However, they're able to put it in bags and carry on luggage and fly it to other countries. That's from the top down. Police don't just make that call. TSA doesn't just make that call. The airport doesn't make that call. Your staffers can't make that call. That means there's no questions asked, no audits, no records, no proof that this isn't drug money or sex trafficking money, that this money, these millions did not come from illicit means. That is from the top down, that these people are given a green light to do everything. These reports, a lot of them about the fraud have came in long before he was even the governor. He's only been governor 8 years. And he was historically going to run for a third term because in Minnesota is one of those rare states where there are no term limits. Effectively, if you bring in a population from another country that has to be loyal to you under the threat of force, well, then you can essentially become a senator. I mean, an emperor in a way. Because see, the way it works in the United States, we're 50 states under a federal umbrella. However, each state individually is really its own country, and the governor is really the president. So if you can just stay in power as a president of a particular state indefinitely, you are essentially a emperor. You are a king. And he almost got away with it if it wasn't for some investigative journalists that just cracked this wide open. Also, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump scare these liberals to death, especially men. See, when it comes to dealing with women in politics, you have to put on kid gloves. You don't want to seem like you're being abusive to women, regardless. But when it comes to dealing with other men, I can definitely see this governor being arrested and paraded around and perp walked. Don't forget, they did it to Trump. I don't know if you've been keeping score, but everything that was done to Trump, he's doing to everyone else tenfold. I can see them putting Tim Walz in a van, driving him around the city, letting people laugh at him and mock him when he's arrested. But the problem is our legal system moves too slow. These people can get good lawyers, they have all this money, and they can drag these cases out. We're going to need something a little bit more surefire so we can wrap this up a lot more quickly in the essence of saving time, since we only have another 3 years of Trump. But that's, in my opinion, why he's stepping down. This is a reporter from his hometown. This is from a local news station, Fox 9 in Minneapolis. And we're going to let them discuss this. This is an investigative reporter, and he's going to cite his sources. And this is why we think he will be stepping down by tomorrow morning. Take a listen.
Deviate here a little bit. For the last 15 minutes, our newsroom has been trying to confirm some information we're learning about Governor Walz. We have now contacted Fox 9 political analyst Blois Olson, reporting Governor Tim Walz will likely drop out of the governor's race. I believe I have Blois now on a Zoom call. We can talk about this. Hi, Blois.
Hey, Randy. How are you? Happy Sunday night.
Good. Happy Sunday night to you, too. Happy New Year. What do you know about this? You tweeted something out a few minutes ago, but tell us what you know about the possibility of the governor now dropping out of the governor's race for re-election.
So I think we've heard for many days that there was a lot of pressure from Democrats on Governor Walz, whether or not he was going to stay in this race. But I learned late today that he met with Senator Amy Klobuchar today. And tomorrow his schedule is an all-staff meeting and then some media briefings. They have not put out his public schedule yet for tomorrow, but my sources are telling me that he will make a major announcement tomorrow and that it is likely that he'll drop out of the governor's race.
The thing about Tim Walz, there's nothing about him that is sophisticated. The guy is he's a complete moron. He's an imbecile. The thing is, he was elected because he had like this old, kind of your uncle, kind of your granddad, white guy look to him. And apparently that's all people think politics is basically you vote for the guy you like because he reminds you of, like, someone you know. They play on your nostalgia. It's kind of like they treat politics like you're voting for the homecoming king or queen or something like that. So when I looked at his video of his marketing tools, and they're like, yeah, he's going around to all these different parts of Minnesota. He's talking about how beautiful it is, but he's never having any conversations about policy, his beliefs, or what he plans on doing, the changes, and how it's going to work. So if he can't explain what he's going to do as governor, he definitely will not be able to explain himself for how he was able to avoid ever having an audit or to stop the fraud in his state. He will not be able to clearly articulate that, which is why he's now being pulled out and removed. The people that are behind him do not trust him. He is a warm body and he just does what he's told. He's a politician. He's basically the male version of Kamala Harris. So they're going to have to remove him, since if he's still in the running for governor, there's going to be questions on the campaign trail and everyone's going to ask him about this fraud. And he does not have enough brain capacity to answer complex questions. He just doesn't. There's nothing complicated about this guy. He's simple. He's like a Lenny from Mice and Men, just smaller and gayer. So because of that, he's going to be on the run. Tampon Tim is going for the hills. And I think he's going to want to get away from microphones and interviews because there's no such thing as a right answer when you're lying. The public now, we're good. Just like we know Erica Kirk's a liar and all those TPUSA scumbags, we can listen to people who are talking to us on cameras because we have so much experience. We have the internet. We've been looking at people's faces and studying the people that lie versus people that are telling the truth for like over 15 years now. We know when we're being lied to. So they're not even going to risk it because they'll embarrass the rest of their party, ruin their other tickets. Therefore, they're removing Tim, from what I can tell.
Blois, again, the first thing people will think about is, okay, where does this leave the Democratic Party in the race for governor?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he did. You got to think about it. Maduro was all of these Democrats' goal. He was their leader. He was the person they admired. He stuck his finger to the U.S. He kept his power and he kept his people poor. The same thing these Democrats are doing in their states. And they only empower their friends. Gavin Newsom now, even though he's leaving office pretty soon, he's on notice. But the fact that they lost one of their heroes, the Democrats' heroes, Maduro, they lost him today. And they watched that man get embarrassed. It's embarrassing that nobody in your country defended you. No one even busts a grape. Bro, the people in charge of protecting him, they didn't even fight sleep. As soon as they seen the Americans there and they felt a little tired, they went and laid down. No Venezuelans died. No Americans died. And Maduro didn't even go down swinging. Nobody wanted him there. These other governors in the United States, they are now understanding Pete Hegseth is blowing up drug boats, killing people, double tapping if they survive. Now Trump is literally extracting communist, socialist dictators, the same as these governors, and he's parading them around in New York and literally bringing them to justice. These people in the United States that have been defrauding our country and bringing us down, these people that are likely working for the Chinese and these other interests and these other abroad, these globalists, their time is up. And now they're going to have to pay. They're all afraid. And like Tim's only the first one. The rest of them are going to run for the hills too. I'll be honest. There's already Somalians that are already taken off. Because why would you even risk it? Because once you get into the system here, we're going to keep you this time. They're finally starting to realize this is not the same Trump administration from 2016 to 2020. This is a new dawn. We are moving at the speed of light. Tim, if you can't get to China, you better get the hell out now. You better go as fast as you can, Tim.
Because it was fairly cut and dried prior to the last few weeks, we might say, when all the fraud stuff broke and the governor announced last fall he would be running for re-election. Where does this leave? I know Peggy Flanagan, the lieutenant governor, is running for Senate. Where does it leave that party if they're going to try and replace him on the gubernatorial ticket?
It's not going to work. People are tired of gay kids. People are tired of trans kids. People are tired of just weirdness. And people have seen the results of what it's like in a country ran by Democrats. Remember, but until Trump came into office, everything was fear-based every day. They're trying to scare you into we're going into war with Russia. We're going to war here. They're talking about new viruses. They're talking about climate change lockdown. They're talking about getting rid of cars, getting rid of oil. Everything's expensive. No hope in sight. The Inflation Reduction Bill did not work. People are now comparing how things were when Democrats were in charge compared to how things now under Trump, where we're actually seeing results. We saw nothing under Biden-Harris. They actually promised us a dark winter. What, like daylight saving time, motherfucker? What are you talking about, dark winter? With all the death? No. Now the death is happening from the vax. It wasn't because of any fake virus. So these certain people, these governors and these people on the left, they are in fear. And they should be. And yeah, it's true. I mean, I see a lot of these characteristics in Erica Kirk. That's why no one trusts her. No one believes her. She won't say where she was on September the 8th. She only tells us what she was doing on September the 9th. The claims of her being at Camp Huachuca at a meeting were for September the 8th. They don't have an alibi for her. And she's so unbelievable because remember, she's a honeypot. She is one of those women that you put next to a man that you want to control and target and handle. She's a handler. She's made for intimate, close settings. She's not made for public speaking or because her charm is based on her looks. Blonde hair, the blue eyes, a small, pretty woman. Men fall for it. That's why you see all the men are buying everything she says. It's the women that are seeing through her. The women are saying, we don't trust her. Everything she's saying is fake. And then the women are making us men look at her twice. We're like, you know what? She's like one of those strippers that convinced me that she loved her, she convinced me she loved me, and I gave her $5,000 and thinking I was paying for her daycare. She doesn't have kids. That's the kind of vibe Erica Kurtz gives. And that's why we don't trust her. And the same thing is going for these other demos. We don't trust them either. We know better. They're going to all eventually have to bug out, because if they don't, then eventually Trump's going to be knocking on your door. Maduro, he proved a point today. He went after Maduro before he went after these politicians, just to let them know, even if you did have an army and a fortress and a palace with steel bars, we're still going to get you. And everybody can cry and complain, but we'll also have you in our custody, and no state can protect you from the Fed. Don't ever let a judge make you think that they are more powerful than the government or than the president. A judge does not have any enforcement power. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Get your bailiff and a couple of sheriffs to go and shoot it out with the government over what a judge trying to enforce some judge's bullshit? We are showing people that you're either going to get down or you're going to lay down. So these people are now going to start dropping off. I don't know who's going to even want to take his place, because anybody that comes in there is going to have to talk down about the Somalian fraud. And then you can't be on the left anymore. So it's kind of like political suicide in any direction. If you win, you just committed political suicide. If you lose, you definitely committed political suicide. So I don't know who's going to want to take this position.
Well, I think that's why the decision had to be made sooner rather than later. February 3rd is the...
Amen to that, Vince. And this multi-channel, it's working for me, because what I'm able to do is look at the analytics and see which channels are doing the best, and then I can focus more on those. It's crazy. My channel, I have one channel that has a quarter of the subscribers as another channel, but I was able to get to monetization on that channel faster than the channel with more views. And I don't understand it, because everything is multicast simultaneously. So that's the benefit of it, but that's the ups and downs, really. It's just kind of expensive. You got to pay a monthly membership for StreamYard. So there's costs involved.
Recent caucuses for the DFL, and
oh yeah, Colombia. I'll be honest. I think Colombia is next, because they're weak. Their president is weak, and he was just in the United States talking that shit. And you know one thing about Big Trump, he does not like people that talk down upon us as Americans and down upon Trump as a president. Actually, he was, wasn't he in like a protest against Trump? Wasn't he involved in the No Kings protests? That's really annoying for someone from a country with the history of supplying cocaine and to the world like Colombia has, to want to poke the bear. You're better off asking the bear, would you like some porridge? Not annoying him and saying little disrespectful things. And Trump already said it. Look, they're over there cooking coke. He's talking about me kidnapping people. He's a coke dealer. They need to get it together. They better hurry up and get it together. That's what Trump's saying. But what that means is that the decision's already been made. I've never known Trump to make empty threats. It's not even a threat. It's a guarantee. I guarantee we will see you soon. And we will also drag you out of your house and bring you to the United States and parade you around like a little bitch. We will do that. We have no problems with doing it. And the beautiful thing is there's no bloodshed. See, Trump doesn't have the stomach for the violence. He just sends in we just go in heavy-handed and we'll just embarrass you. Like, some people want to punch you. Trump's the kind of guy that will literally put on a rubber glove and just slap the dog shit out you. He doesn't want to break your teeth. He just wants to embarrass you in front of everybody. Maduro in Venezuela, Maduro was embarrassed in front of the world. His people feel more confident. There's already migrants who are in the United States as refugees from Venezuela. They're already booking their flights to go back to Caracas. They're going home. Imagine if we can do the same magic for Colombia. Now, I do love Colombia. I think it's a great country, but what if we can improve it by removing this impotent dickhead of a president? Maybe.
Any candidate who wants to seek the endorsement is going to have to go through that process.
You know what? If we make an example of Colombia and Venezuela, I think Cuba might fold without a shot being fired. Mexico, it's not the president of Mexico that's going to step down, because the cartel will execute her. So we don't got to worry about the president. The cartel will deal with her. However, we're going to have to do coordinated strikes against the largest cartels in Mexico. And that's going to require some risk. But think about what the reward will be. Think about how many people are dying because, now don't get me wrong, there's a supply and demand. they're only supplying because there's a high demand for America's favorite drug here in the United States. But does that give the Chinese and the cartels permission to spike it with fentanyl to knock out people that are just trying to party and have a good time? Should it be a death sentence because you buy drugs? I don't think so. And the fact that they've killed so many of our people, I've personally met people that have died off of fentanyl. I remember one day in my building in downtown LA, I wake up, there's like a coroner's van in front of my building 3 days in a row. And 3 days in a row, they found multiple people in one apartment that were partying, and they all died from fentanyl. That's how it goes in LA. You don't see that a lot in Arizona or Vegas or Texas, but it's California. You know, it's nothing but bad news from California. Yeah, the weather used to be great, not anymore. The skies are blacked out, and the scenery's gone. There's homeless everywhere, and and everything's trying to kill you there. You know, it's just kind of like living in Jurassic Park. You think it's going to be beautiful, but you're dead. So how would you enjoy it? You know.
Amy Klobuchar has been rumored to be interested and maybe could run. She would also not have to give up her Senate seat if she ran, because the Senate race that's on the ballot is Tina.
I agree. It was smooth, but I think that, I'll be honest, I think the people in these countries, I think people everywhere are there. None of us want violence anymore. These other countries are saying, look, don't blow up our infrastructure, remove these dictators, and let us get back to work. Everybody wants to do business with the United States, even the Russians. We're going to be doing more business with the Russians. We're going to be doing more business with Venezuela. We will finally be able to remove the embargo between Cuba and the United States, and then we can modernize Cuba. They can start doing capitalism. They can remodel and reopen the resorts, and that can be another paradise. It can be another source of income also, and it'll be another cheap destination for Americans to go and spend money, boost their economy. These people are not going to die defending dictators, not anymore. The only one we're going to have to worry about, in my opinion, is Sheinbaum. That's it, just because the Zionists are the ones who put her there. So that's going to be a direct conflict of interest if the Americans, who used to be controlled by the Zionists, go in there to remove the Zionists so that they have access to the cartel. I think that's the only one that can get messy.
Smith's seat. But then the other names that come to mind are Secretary of State Steve Simon, and then you have that competitive Senate race between Lieutenant Governor Flanagan,
put a girl on,
and Representative Angie Craig. I think there'll be some other names that emerge in the weeks and days to come, but I think everybody's waiting to see if Klobuchar jumps in.
So is this, let's look at this from a political perspective, and let's look at it from the other side of the aisle, from a Republican standpoint. Does this open a fairly large door that maybe the Republicans running for governor haven't seen before without Walz in the race?
Well, we haven't seen an open governor's race since 2018. We saw one in 2010. Open governor's races are very different. They're very expensive, and they become very crowded in the primaries.
Well, if they're very expensive, there is somebody from our side who is running for governor of Minnesota, and that is the wonderful Mr. Mike Lindell from My Pillow. I fucking love Mike Lindell. If you like Mike Lindell, follow my channel. I'm going to hopefully eventually be able to get an interview with him just to talk to him. I'll be honest, I liked Mike Lindell back when I used to buy his products. And then I heard his story after. Amazing. His comeback story, amazing. The fact that he rebuilt himself several times from beyond scratch he's an American success story. If he can make it, anyone can make it. Any of us can do anything we want to do. There's nobody stopping you but you. But Mike Lindell is from Minnesota, and everything he went through in defending Trump was so, it inspired me, because he went through the hellfire behind Trump, and now Trump's back president again. We won. We came out on the right side of history. Mike Lindell now wants to be the governor of Minnesota. That he should be the rightful governor of Minnesota. For one thing, he employs people from Minnesota. He understands the private sector. He understands business. He also understands we don't need the scams. That's a Democrat thing. They don't believe in law and order. They believe in stealing, pillaging, scamming. But conservatives, we believe in working and building ourselves up and taking care of our families. We don't want the handouts and the subsidies. We want the government to get out of our way. Mike Lindell will help put that state back on track. However, he will be going up against the whole Somali infrastructure. But I'll be honest, with the threat of deportation and arrest, I don't think a lot of these Somalians are built for prison. Have you ever met one in real life? See, us Americans, we 200-300 pounds. These Somalians are 150. I don't think they would do good in prison. But the threat of all the love that men would be making to some of these exotic cheeks once they get to prison would be enough for them to stop the fraud and go to another country if they know there's going to be a conservative that will be taking over. Because obviously, we are going to go through the books the same way Trump went through the books once he took over. And now we're finding out all the secrets that have been going on the last 4 years and all this, all the shenanigans they pulled in old elections and how they were able to get these fake cases pushed through the system. The books are going to be open for the governor for Minnesota too. That's why we have to get our people in there. We need Mike Lindell to win. So FYI, he is in a race. If you haven't heard, support Mike Lindell for governor of Minnesota, and he can afford this expensive race, which is a good thing for us.
I do think, Randy, that this will change the dynamics. Privately, Republicans had been hoping that Walz would stay in the race because they saw him as very vulnerable, seeking his third term with some of this fraud stories just continuing to linger and not go away.
That's interesting. Do you see it? And again, this is sort of your expertise and your opinions and having watched Minnesota politics for as many decades as I have.
A second battalion, I actually would support Gomez as long as Valentina, as long as she's a true America First candidate. Being MAGA, unfortunately, is just not enough. You have to be MAGA, but you can't be MEGA. You can't be Make Israel Great Again. Israel can't be anywhere in your priority list. I remember I seen this super damn embarrassing video of Dan Bongino doing an interview, and they were like, "So Dan, tell us about yourself. What are some things that are really important to you?" And he looked around like, "Is the correct answer Israel? Is that the answer, Israel?" And I was like, "This is fucking pathetic." Any of those people are gone. We want all of them out of politics in the United States. We don't. That's ridiculous. That's disgusting. So as long as she's not an Israel first, as long as there's no pictures of her over in Jerusalem licking on that rock that they all put their hands on and like touching on it, bro, as long as there's no pictures of her doing that, she'll get my vote. And I'll be honest, I love Abbott. That's my governor. I moved to Texas because of Greg Abbott. But even he started playing the whole censorship thing with the hate speech for Israel. It's like, bro, come on, Abbott. You came way too far. You've been amazing. Why would you destroy your legacy with that BS? You know damn well in America, we can say fuck every and any country we want to. You cannot say, oh, you can talk about anyone you want except for them. Bro, we don't do that. That you can't encroach on my First Amendment rights just so you can get more funding. So, but like my thing is that's the only blind spot, like everybody else, where Abbott was wrong. As long as we can find candidates that are not loyal to Israel, they'll have my support. But you got to be MAGA, America First, and you have to be America only. And then you have my support, because that's me. If I decide to run for something in 10 years from now, I'm running on the same platform I'm running on today. I'm a guy. We don't change. I'm a man. I'm doing the same. I'm being in my underwear, playing video games, eating Apple Jacks pretty soon. We don't change. I was doing that at 14 years old too. So I want someone that's going to be consistent. America first, America only, make America great again, without all the Israel stuff. So if she can fit that description, she has my support.
Does this create a better chance for a Republican to win? And you do note, duly noted, that they thought Governor Walz was more beatable than some other likely candidate. Is it your view then that the Democrats will put a high-profile Democrat on the ticket?
I think what you have to consider here, Randy, is what we've seen nationally for Democrats, and we're seeing it in the Senate race here. There is friction in the Democratic Party between progressives and center-right, more pro-business Democrats. You saw it in New York with the Mandami election. You're seeing it in the Flanagan race against Angie.
Yeah, she, that's the problem. I mean, shit, Brandon Tatum used to talk about guns, Trump, police, immigrants. And then all of a sudden he started talking about wanting to turn Palestine into a fucking parking lot. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, you see how quickly these people just slide through? The dude doesn't know, he couldn't spell the word Yiddish. He knows nothing about Israel. But all of a sudden he wants to defend it with all my might. And I'm like, Brandon Tatum, bro, you used to be back the blue, Trump supporter, gun enthusiast, Arizona. And now you're like some sellout for the fucking Zionist? Bro, we call it yarmulke fish, where people, you don't know that they are wearing a yarmulke, but they are. And then we find out after we, put them in power or support them that we got yarmulke fished. Brandon Tatum yarmulke fished us. I don't want to be yarmulke fished by anybody. We have to pre-screen all of our politicians before we give them our support to make sure that we are not being yarmulke fished. And don't let anybody else take this term. Instead of being catfished or hatfished, you can be yarmulke fished. So don't let anybody steal our term, okay, chat?
Craig, and you saw it in the Minneapolis mayor's race. And so what we're going to see here.
You know what? She is hot. Okay, look, I reverse everything I said. Reverse course. She could be Israel first. She's so hot, we can go ahead and keep her. Yarmulke fish me, baby. Yarmulke fish me.
Here is more progressive candidates are going to look to the caucus system, and a more moderate candidate's going to think, can they win in a primary? Let's remember that Governor Dayton and Governor Walz both won primaries to be governor. And so
I'll be honest, we're Americans. We don't need to know anything about the Middle East. That's not our sphere of influence anymore. We can no longer be the world police. The Middle East is closer to Russia than it is to China. Let the Russians figure it out. Let the Russians and the Middle East divide up Europe, and as a matter of fact, the third world from the Middle East have already invaded Europe, so Europe has already fallen. So that's all the Middle East now. They call it Londonistan. So I mean, in Francistan. So I mean, those countries are gone. And then that's Russia. And then the Chinese are going to take control of the South Pacific, Australia, Taiwan, of course. That's their sphere of influence. But nobody, not the Cubans, not the Mexicans, will make any more deals with anybody else in our backyard. That's why we did that to Venezuela. That's why we're going to do it to these other countries. The American hemisphere, the Americas, from Greenland to Antarctica, from Greenland to Argentina, it's our backyard. It's our territory. There is no coming over here and doing business. Shops closed.
So the endorsed candidate did not succeed there.
All right, I want to get to you about the whys and the what fors on this. Couple things.
Oh, do me a favor. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I do these lives a lot. The channel's growing. The audience is growing. And we're talking about the things that are important to people who have an America first and America only agenda in our own households. That's what we live by. This is our country. We will stay here. We will die here. We will protect here. But we will remold our image we will remold our country back into the image of where we grew up. That's the whole purpose of being conservative and traditional. I grew up in an amazing America. I grew up in Los Angeles, of all places in America. The Los Angeles of today is not even the same Los Angeles it was in 2019. I've lost my entire city. I've lost my entire state. I would wish my kids would have the opportunity to grow up in just something that resembles how great it was for me as a kid. So to do that, we're going to have to bring back certain values, and we're going to have to change certain things. We didn't have all these illegals and all these people who hate the country constantly sowing dissent into the ears of everyone, convincing you to be unpatriotic, convincing you that you're a sellout if you pledge allegiance to the flag, or if you love your president, or if you say you love your country. It's crazy. They'll promote you saying that you love your gang and you'll die for your gang and you'll die for your city and you'll die for everything. But if you say it about your country where all these things exist within, it's a problem. That's because certain people sow They have a disdain for the country, and they spread it by talking and mumbling. And, it's like you have a coworker at work that's like always so negative. Like, don't you hate it here? Aren't you tired of working here? You hate this place too, right? It's like they're sowing discontent. They're spreading it because misery loves company. Those are the kind of people we don't need. And if you have them around you, you have to ignore them for the time being until we can do something about it. But that's the whole purpose of being conservative and wanting traditional values. Is not for us because we've had our time. It's for our children. Now, the people that we're fighting against, people I'm talking about, they don't have kids. They can't reproduce. Two men can't have kids, vice versa with women. So their goal is to sow so much discontent that your kid is so angry about just being alive that they just fall over into their side. That's how they recruit. That's why they target your kids young. Those are the things that we are going to be removing, and we're working on it. So follow this channel, stay up to date. America first, America only. Let's continue.
Come to mind very quickly. One, a failed vice presidential run. There was a lot of scrutiny put on Governor Walz during that, his behavior, his demeanor, what kind of person was he? Those of us in Minnesota.
Yeah, the Night Stalker sucked, but everything else in the 80s was cool. But, the Night Stalker, that was, I got to skip over that chapter.
Watched that very closely. That certainly became a bit of a drag for him politically. Now we're talking about all the fraud that is being investigated here in Minnesota.
Let's talk about
with state oversight and now federal oversight. Which of those things or a combination of those things, Blois, in your view, would be what would force Governor Walz to not run again? What's your take on that?
Randy, I really do think it's the fraud. The idea that the fraud story is not going away. We're going to have more indictments, and the headlines are just going to continue. And, most people, including Democrats that I talk to, say they don't believe he seized the issue early enough, that he didn't take it seriously early enough. And now we look at the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and the national and the federal government really coming down on Minnesota. I wrote last year, what to watch in 2025 was how Governor Walz re-entered Minnesota. And I think it took him a while to get his feet back under him after his VP run, but I think he found his way. And overall, his approval ratings were, in the mid 40s, solid for a second-term governor in a divided state. So I feel like he caught his feet after the VP run, but this is something that I don't think that he thinks he can recover from. I also believe in my heart that the tenor and tone is exhausting. Seeking a third term, being on the national stage, the tenor tone of politics, losing Speaker Emeritus Hortman, going through just the tragedy of Annunciation, that's got to wear on just the human soul. And, how much energy would he have for a third term, especially if the pressure of Washington and further kind of polarization and heightened threats to him, continued?
That's the thing. If you're innocent, it's easy to explain. Hey, we have these stalkers. They were very sophisticated. There was a level of corruption where they exploited certain systems and loopholes that we had. But there's no way to explain why you have places that are receiving millions of dollars that are literally in your capital city, but no one went by in person to do an audit to see how many kids are there. There's no video footage of, okay, think about it. I'm just a guy on YouTube, right? But I was doing animal rescue. I volunteer. I have thousands of videos of just me helping rescue dogs, feeding dogs, pulling dogs from shelters. That requires me driving around. Imagine how easy it would be just to make videos or have content where it just shows you giving out food to children, feeding them, or you see them playing in daycare, and you can actually provide, or basically you're making a commercial for your business showing that you're taking in new clients. People can come. There's no advertising for these scam fake daycares. There's no advertising for the scam places where you can get healthcare. There's no marketing. There's no footage. There's no evidence. There's no people. There's no nothing in your capital city. And you mean to tell me they're supposed to be servicing children and nobody went there to see how it's going with people that have kids in their custody? You mean to tell me there's nobody? Nobody. I used to own a club. The city would send people at 2:00 in the morning just to make sure we weren't serving people after hours, after 2 a.m. So you mean to tell me if you guys got people that go there in the day at nighttime at 2 a.m., there's no agency that was in charge of overseeing all of these daycares or all of these healthcare places just to make sure they're in compliance? 10, 12 years. I mean, what about when the fire department came? They never noticed that there were no kids, so there was no reason to worry about the exit or being at capacity. So wait, what? So the kids are always at home or always on break? Nobody noticed that these places are fucking empty? See, when you're innocent, you can make these points and you can say, hey, look, there were some corruption on the inside. I wasn't aware of it. It's a big state. We have issues, but we're going to close up those loopholes. There will be people that will be held accountable. We have a list of arrests we're going after. That's something that you can explain. But when you're lying, or when you're in on it and you're guilty, and people, as soon as you open your mouth, we're going to know you're lying. You might as well just give up. Just give up, Erica Kirk. Just give up.
All right, one final question on this, and that would be, in your view, again, some of this we're speaking hypothetically because...
Yeah, they're going to have to leer the hard way.
As officially, the governor has not said he won't be running for re-election. I trust your sources as you do, so it's very likely we will hear more about this tomorrow. Again, to remind our viewers, the governor has called an 11 a.m. news conference for tomorrow, and we will carry that, by the way, on Fox 9 and Fox Local.
Bro, did you know, Dead Man Live? There's a politician there's a politician in Somalia. Even he has a... There's a Somalian politician that even has a fucking daycare in Minnesota that's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. How can you be a politician in another country? You're not even an American citizen. You don't even citizenship. You're not an American citizen. You don't live here. You have no citizenship, but yet you have a fraudulent daycare. He has his own fraudulent daycare. I wouldn't be surprised if the president or the king or whoever the fuck in that shithole country, I wouldn't be surprised if they were just like, bro, put everybody down. The president has his own daycare that's fake and bro, this is insane. It just shows that, you know, we have not been a serious country for so long that we've just been getting abused. And I mean, imagine, I don't even want to pay taxes this year. I'm going to withhold my taxes. I'm going to force the IRS to start threatening me because I don't know where my money's going. I have a problem with that. Now, I can see if they told me, hey, look, a bunch of Americans have been scamming to the tune of millions. I'm like, for some Americans? All right. But now you're telling me some foreigners that they barely speak English and they wear those ashy ass sandals. Now I'm offended. Now I'm upset. Now some Americans bubbling. We know who these Americans are. We know who they are. They only speak English. They only can stay in this country. These Somalians can say, no, I'm not Abdul Muhammad. I'm Muhammad Abdul. And they can just literally skirt enforcement, not be held accountable, change their identity, and go back to their country and no accountability. That's my issue with letting illegals and these migrants come here. They don't have birth certificates or social security cards. So you don't even know who they really are. They can just change their name every few months when they're ready, and you'll be none the wiser. And that's how they're able to get away with so much crime and keep repeating it because we don't know who they are to arrest them. And then and then profiling, they're going to say you're racist or you think we all look alike, and they're going to use all these excuses, and that's how they're able to stay out of trouble. And then the women, if they cover their faces, you don't know who these people even are. You have no idea. Think about it because of the inbreeding thing. Let's be honest. There's inbreeding. They all look similar. A lot of them. So what do you do? What do you do? You don't know who's who. So yeah, they get away with murder, but Tim Walz will not get away with shit, and which is why he's stepping down. Again, he's not smart enough to explain himself. He doesn't have the brain capacity to do so.
The final question I have on this, because of the national stage that the governor was thrust upon during that election run, do you think he received pressure from the national?
Yes, in fucking Ohio. Dead man, bro. Can you believe that? The Somalian ambassador to the UN is an administrator to daycare facilities in, I believe, Columbus, Ohio. How many Americans own daycares in Somalia? Do they even have daycares in these countries? Like, bro, this is so goddamn ridiculous. It's embarrassing that, I mean, it's crazy. Every law against Americans is enforced, but yet when it comes to enforcing laws against migrants or illegals, everyone's so, oh no, we shouldn't do this. So they're above the law. So they're better than me and my people. They're better than me and my fellow Americans. So they're above the law. We're beneath the law. Okay, got you. Yeah, no, not accepting that. We're not playing that game.
Democratic Party, that he was becoming a drag nationally on the ticket, or is this confined to Minnesota only?
Yeah, 2 million is nothing. That's lunch for the Somalian scammers. They're in the tunes of hundreds of billions. Some is saying that this, when you combine the total costs, it's north of $1 trillion in the past 10 years. When you combine Washington State, Ohio, Minnesota, Virginia, there are certain states where this has just been rampant and just unregulated. Like, I mean, I thought we had regulations for everything. There's red tape to do anything. You can't even take a cart out on the street and sell bacon wrap hot dogs without people from offices trying to make you sign forms and shut you down. But yet you can open up a daycare with no kids and get funding to the tune of millions, hundreds of millions. Yeah, this is completely insane. Completely.
No, I do think there's some national, weights around him running again. But I don't think they could overcome. National Democrats, I think, would have rallied. But they're going to look at indicators like fundraising, like donor support. I talked to several Democratic elected officials.
Hey, if we were in their country right now, 2nd Battalion, if we were like, let's open up a daycare in Somalia. And when they got there, there's no kids and there's not even any rice, because they eat rice with everything, and they will put sandals to ass. They would put sandals to lip. They would put sandals to turban. You'll be covered in sandal marks. That's how bad it would be. But yeah, here they come over here. They can just get away with whatever. But we couldn't, if I even have a dream of doing that, I would literally wake up with just sandals all around me. I can't even dream of that. But yet here they are just getting away with bloody murder.
In the last few days. And they really had started to feel that he was going to drag down the Minnesota ticket. And that would be first and foremost.
All right, Bloy.
Trump University hasn't been a thing in 25 years. And it's been forever. I don't know. You want to talk about Trump University? Because you keep wanting to bring up Trump. I don't know why. We're talking about fraud, and I think you're trying to excuse their fraud because you think Trump defrauded somebody. But I don't think you completely understand the whole the case about Trump and Trump University. Is that a topic you want to talk about, Mitch? If it is, let me know. We can do it.
As always, we appreciate your insight and your sourcing. And we will talk with you more tomorrow, undoubtedly, about this as we learn more about it. Again, just to recap for our viewers who may have been listening, Bloy's joined us to talk about what he is hearing through his sourcing, that Governor Tim Walz will not, in fact, run for re-election. Again, we're expected to learn more tomorrow if, in fact, this all comes to fruition at an 11 a.m. news conference. Again,
well, listen, you guys heard it here first. So it's almost 2 a.m. here in Central, which Arizona time. So that. And I believe that Minnesota is on Central Time as well. So in about 9 hours at their press conference, it might be Tim Walz announcing that he is stepping down. Again, he doesn't have the brain capacity to withstand criticism or to have any useful conversations. I'll be honest, everything about that dude just seems like he's on the spectrum. He doesn't seem very again, he doesn't seem sophisticated. He doesn't have all of his circuits. There's definitely a chromosome or two missing from Tim Walz, which is why he was so comfortable with being like, yeah, I'll just be your vice president, and maybe I'll be your side chick as a man to Kamala Harris. he saw no issues with that, So, and I was like, is this guy like mentally handicapped, or is he just really big virtue signaling type of person? So I don't know. I mean, it could be a combination of both. Yeah, we could talk to the AI. We could talk to Arthur. That's my co-host. We could talk to him about vaccines. Do you have any other particular questions we can talk about? Just let me know. But also, I wanted to know what you want to talk about the whole Trump University thing, because you keep bringing up Trump, accusing him of fraud. I don't think Trump doesn't have any fraud convictions. So I don't know. It seems like you guys have like these erotic fantasies of Trump and all this. They're like, oh, he's convicted of 34 felonies. But there's black people telling me that. And I was like, do you know Trump's felonies are not like yours? Like you're a felon because of murder, armed robbery, home invasion, evading arrest, forgery and stuff. Yeah, Trump's are basically exaggerated claims of misfiling paperwork. So your felonies and Trump's felonies, they're not the same type of felonies. I think you guys are having a hard time processing that data, but I'm happy that we can talk to it. You don't have Google. I'll be honest, I don't like Google. I don't think anybody likes Google anymore. Just because I remember when Google suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story. And when I shared that story on my Facebook, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, no pun intended, since we're talking about Somalians, Ilhan Omar. So, but no, yeah. And then after that, they kicked me off of Facebook and they took everything away. And I've never gotten it back since. So because of that, I don't deal with Google. That's why I like AI, or I'll use a different browser. Google's nobody's go-to anymore. That's why their market share is collapsing. So, yeah. Yeah, the girl in the drum circle with the purple hair. Yeah, that's where I get all my data from too nowadays. It's just crazy. Oh man, this is hilarious. Yeah, but I'll be honest. We're breaking news right now. So, we heard it here first. We knew it was coming the night before. And if that's going to be the case, then so be it. But that just means that it's going to be even harder for us to talk to him or shake him down for any information. I don't know how it goes when you invite former governors and do a discovery. But I mean, if you could invite a former president, well, then anything goes. There's no more normalcy. There's no more tradition when it comes to how we handle these things. Anybody can get it at that point. That's where we are right now in American history. It's pretty much it's no man's land. Anything can happen at any point in time. Normalcy bias is completely out of the window. So because of that, you never know what's going to happen. So I wouldn't be surprised we wake up and you see Walz doing the perp walk. And I bet you he's going to fold. He's going to cry. And he's going to tell everything. The thing is, we're just going to need law enforcement that's not too chicken shit where they're afraid to go and enforce the laws. Yeah, he actually dislikes most politicians. Yeah, I do too. I'll be honest. I don't like Republicans. Unless you're MAGA, I don't know what you do. These Republicans are feckless. They're more or less just speed bumps for Democrat BS policies promoting the gay agenda on children and crippling our country, destroying our economy, and weakening our borders. And the Republicans just, they're barely a little bit of a speed bump to slow you down just a little. They're feckless. That's why I don't respect any of them. And that's why being a Republican is one thing. Being a MAGA Republican, an America First Republican, is a completely different person, completely different entity. So, oh yeah, I definitely dislike them. I can't stand any of them for those exact reasons right there. It just doesn't make any sense. I'll be honest, my favorite politician, the only one I've ever seen actually get things done, well, I've seen two people get things done, was MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Matt Gaetz. And I famously remember when Matt Gaetz basically held out and they were able to get Speaker McCartney because he literally held out on assigning a speaker, and everyone was so mad at him. But I was proud of him because they just wanted him to roll over. Politics as usual. Everybody goes home. He said, no, we're not. I don't want that guy to be the speaker. And he literally fought against it. Bro, everything is just like, these politicians don't even care. They get their money, they leave. And then it's like they're just voted in office forever. But Marjorie Taylor Greene was my favorite. And the thing is, I don't really care a lot for women in politics just because I don't like the fact that they can vote us into wars that they're not going to be on the front line to fight. So I don't believe in women in those types of politics. But I mean, I know that when she defended Trump, she went hard. And when she fought against the left and when they were literally trying to destroy us, she fought against the lockdown, the mandates. She protected her family. She told people to hold their ground. And she was a true patriot. She was light in a room full of darkness when everybody else was just being driven by fear. So because of that, I respect Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I wish that she, did she already step down or is she stepping down? Well, no, she hasn't stepped down yet. I think it's supposed to be coming up. Hopefully she reverses course. I hope Trump doesn't, piss her off too much. But yeah, I only like certain politicians because of that. Yes, exactly. Orange team isn't red team. We're definitely like that. What do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene's power separation from MAGA? Was it a power play? I'll be honest, it just seemed like she got offended very easy. But then she said something that was a little disheartening. She said that the issues we have in Congress, they can't be fixed. And she said Trump's not playing fourth dimensional chess or fifth dimensional chess. The problems are so inherently bad and serious that there's no purging them. There's no fixing it. It's permanently warped and destroyed. So she came off like a nihilist, like basically hopeless. But then again, she's a woman. I don't expect, yes, she works out a lot, but I don't expect her to think she's about to go fist fight and actually be on the front lines in battle. And that's where I think women fall short. They don't understand what this freedom thing takes. Freedom requires death. Freedom, the tree of liberty requires the blood of patriots to nourish it from periodically. Meaning, if you want that world that you grew up in so that your kids can experience, you might have to die defending it to protect it. That's what comes along with freedom. It's death. Because you have a responsibility to protect what's yours. You have a responsibility to yourself and to your family, but not just to them today, but for them indefinitely, which goes into the future. You can't just cut tail and run and get upset and say, oh, it's over. It's a dead end. That's not the answer. So that was my issue with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I felt like she was so dedicated to Trump. Once her and Trump had one disagreement, he says something she doesn't like. He makes fun of her name and gives her a new nickname. And she's so hurt and emotional that she wants to quit. And, remember in that movie, A League of Their Own? Remember what Tom Hanks said? There's no crying in baseball. This is a man's game. As a woman, if you want to play in it, you're going to need thicker skin. You're going to have to be able to go take the punches, and you got to get used to it. It's not going to always be, everyone's going to be just professional and perfect and basically a politician. Trump is not a politician. He's kind of an asshole sometimes, and he's rough around the edges, but he gets stuff done. He's basically a New Yorker. He's from Queens. I've never met a New Yorker that I've ever got along with, ever. Every New Yorker you meet, you want to fight after about 15 minutes. New Yorkers can only tolerate and deal with other New Yorkers. They don't get along with anybody. So I didn't think it was a power play. I just thought it was, she's just, she's still a woman. And that's what women do, Women have the luxury to leave us, but we're stuck with this country, right? We're the men. The women can go off and go somewhere else and get married to a guy in another country. We're men. We're kind of stuck here. This is our country. We got to defend it. We got to die for it. That's just how it goes. Went to a party like a chick. Hell yeah. That's hilarious. Did you know that foreign students with F1 visas can obtain straight driver license and go to polls? And yeah, I talked about that earlier, that illegals voting is legal. The reason I say it's legal is because there's no enforcement against it. So if they find out that you're an illegal alien and you voted in the election, if the person who you voted for wins, then all of your crimes are absolved. So you're not going to be held accountable. You're not going to be arrested. And they're not going to reverse the results of the fraudulent election. Remember, every one illegal that votes, it neutralizes the vote of one American. So do we even have a right to vote if we have illegals in this country? The answer is no, because we're not. Yeah, I mean, we're voting in spirit. We're down there voting just because, but there are illegals that are literally canceling out every one of our American votes. Everyone that they cast, it cancels one of ours out. So, and that's why that was the whole premise behind the case from between Texas when they sued Pennsylvania, because without going through the legislature, Pennsylvania unilaterally used their courts, their judicial system, to change their voting laws during the lockdown and the scamdemic. But according to the rules in the Constitution, only the state legislature can change the voting laws. And they didn't go through them. They went through the judicial. And their lax voting rules adversely affected Texas residents, which is why Texas sued them. But the fact that the Supreme Court wouldn't hear the case on standing alone and didn't throw it out based on the merits is why we're in such a constitutional crisis when it does come to elections. If you guys remember that time. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, unfortunately. And I was very proud. At the time, I had just left California and I was in Arizona. So this was 2020. And I had donated like a few $1,000s to the audit. And they started doing the audit in Arizona, and they found tons of irregularities. But that's when we finally found out that even if we found out that Trump won the election by 99%, they were never going to reverse the votes. And especially on January 6th, when the former vice president actually, did not elect those alternate electors like he was instructed to. And he stayed with the agenda. And then Biden was certified, and he sent our country into hell. But you know what's crazy and ironic? The people that voted for Biden to become president, he forced them to take that vaccine that's killing them all now. Not to beat a dead horse, no pun intended, but one of my really good friends, I seen him today at the store, and he like just broke down, and I'm like, what's wrong? And it's his mother is in the hospital, and all of a sudden, just out of the blue, there's mass that's just spread throughout all of her bones. And we were just talking about how she was one of those people that was first in line to want to go get the experimental injections. So that's why they have to bring in all these illegals and allow them to do fraud. They're supposed to replace us. They literally euthanize their fickle Americans who vote one way or the other based on how the wind's blowing that day. We're not solid enough for them. So they literally euthanized us, or they tried, and they were replacing us with people from all over from the third world. And we're now fighting to reverse that. Well, those of us who are going to be here, those of us who are going to survive this, because I didn't take it. A lot of people didn't take it. So for those of us, we have to remain in this world that's going to be void of our loved ones. And we're going to have to let the show's going to have to go on, and we're going to just have to keep their memories alive. But we're going to also have to remember what happened so that it doesn't happen again. If you guys agree with me, please like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I do these shows nightly. I do shows throughout the day, and I talk about everything. It's not just politics and serious stuff. I do relationships. I do finance. We talk about business. We talk about all different types of things. So please, I'll try to keep you entertained. As more and more people fall off who took the vax that are on the internet doing content, the way I know how many people took it is because they never talk about those days. They just want to forget about it. And I'm like, okay, if you don't want to talk about it, it's because you're scared of what you did. And that means you took it. And that means you have something to be worried about. And it's unfortunate that you wake up and you went to bed They were online talking, you wake up and they didn't wake up, or something happened and they're in the hospital. And now their audience is sitting there and there's a big void. So that's why I figured I would just kind of step in to kind of, present myself. And hopefully if you like me and you like my content, then you guys will, follow, tune in. It's been really fun. I really enjoy talking to you guys. I appreciate the support. So please, stay tuned. We have a lot of these conversations every day. And yeah, you got to think about it. 2nd Battalion, you could be one of the few that got lucky. There was for these nurses in Germany, here in the United States, and there's a few countries in Canada. There were all these nurses that were saying they had the same dream. And in their dream, an angel came to them and told them to inject people with saline and put the vaccine they were supposed to give them in the saline jar and dispose it in there. And these nurses swapped out vaccines, hundreds of thousands of them all over the world, and they were injecting people with saline. So even though fraud is killing our country's economy, fraud and medical fraud and fake vaccine cards and, nurses having dreams from angels telling them to inject people with saline, that type of fraud might have saved the United States as a whole and saved a lot more lives than we think. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people got the real thing, but then there's also a lot of us that didn't. And you got to keep that in mind. So so it might not be all bad, Besides, you're a man. A lot of men didn't last this long because it's testosterone reactive. So, you could have been one of the lucky ones. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, the ones that didn't work. Absolutely. Look, I'll be back on with another topic in about 15 minutes, and we'll get some more water. I'm going to get everything set up, get the thumbnail ready, and I'll be back shortly. Remember, everybody, America first, America only. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again shortly. Cheers.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.